Hello, dear friends. My name is Sofia Dorinskaya. I am a doctor and the head of the Center for Medical Information. Today, let's continue discussing the topic of intermittent fasting and autophagy. Here is another example of data manipulation, another example of using a scientific discovery, stretching it, so to speak, to fit some completely crazy practice. And let's just figure this out. In 2016, Japanese biologist Yoshinori Osumi received the Nobel Prize for his research on autophagy, a process during which a cell eats itself. Osumi conducted his research on yeast cultures, and he was very surprised when, at the Healthy Moscow Conference in 2020, he was introduced as the creator of the legendary fasting method. There is even a video where the scientist clearly says that he has nothing to do with fasting. Not to the secret of eternal youth, not to a magical way to lose weight. But the bloggers couldn't be stopped anymore. To be continued. It's been 10 years since Osumi won the Nobel Prize. But do fasting enthusiasts still use the research of the humble cell biologist as an excuse when talking about the benefits of intermittent fasting? You wouldn't argue with a Nobel Prize winner, would you? People write to me too, saying, "You're arguing with a Nobel Prize winner." Well, it says right here that we absolutely will. But not only Osumi himself, This really shows what Yoshinori Osumi did and didn't do. What did he do? He identified the genes involved in autophagy, attention, yeast genes. What he didn't do was study the effect of autophagy on humans. What he did was describe the molecular mechanisms of autophagy in yeast. What he didn't do was study nutrition and diet. What he did was prove that autophagy is a regulated, not a chaotic process. What he didn't do was invent intermittent fasting. What he did was create laboratory models to study autophagy. And what didn't he do? He didn't say that autophagy is triggered after 16 hours of fasting in humans. He didn't say that. What did he do? He received the Nobel Prize for fundamental research on model organisms. And what didn't he do? He didn't recommend anyone to practice fasting for health reasons. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've already told you that autophagy, as a phenomenon, does exist in the human body. Because what you write to me, or when someone writes about cleansing the body, there is no such thing as cleansing in the body. There are only natural processes in the body, including autophagy, because that's when the immune system devours cells that have divided incorrectly, cancer cells. Every healthy body has cancer cells and a healthy immune system. What is his status? What is his current condition? What is he watching for? Yes, he destroys these cells. We have bones. Excuse me. Osteoclasts and osteoblasts. What do osteoclasts do? They eat our own bone cells. What do osteoblasts do? They build up these cells. These are natural processes. These are natural processes that are always present. This respected scientist simply studied the process itself, the biological process on yeast molecules. And he never applied this to the human body or told people that they needed to fast, created by Dima Torzak. This is how the public is deceived. That's how it is. Sorry, Dima Torzak. Dima Torzak, subtitles by Dima Torzak. What do you need to recover? We had people after intermittent fasting. It's absolute hell. It's absolute hell. I'll say it again. Recovering a person after fasting is much harder than just recovering a person. Taking him off antipsychotics, if he's eating properly, and he's eating meat as instructed, it's much easier to take him off antipsychotics than to recover him after such a terrible, severe starvation. You see, everything is completely destroyed there. The body starts to destroy the islets of Langerhans in the pancreas, which are responsible for producing both insulin and a special hormone that triggers appetite. And the person no longer wants to eat. Food becomes repulsive to them. Due to severe vitamin deficiencies, their taste becomes distorted. They develop a vitamin B1 deficiency, the clinical sign of which is anorexia, and the body simply starts to die. But you did this with your own hands. Those people who do not give their bodies normal nutrition, regular, stable, in small portions, at short intervals. Let me remind you again, during Soviet times, in health resorts, in sanatoriums, they had frequent meals in small portions. Why did they feed people 5 or 6 times a day? Because it helps regulate the digestive system, and you should never eat just twice a day. And they even dragged in a poor scientist who was horrified and shocked and said he had never done anything like that. He never told anyone to starve or said anything like that. So, for those who wrote to me saying that he's a Nobel laureate, excuse me, he's a Nobel laureate in a completely different field. So, my friends, if you're currently on your intermittent fasting, stop it. The Nobel laureate himself is telling you this. Did he ever say anything like that? So, go back to your normal life. Go back, especially if things are really tough. The website is Durinskaya.com. There's a button for the adult test. Write to us, and we'll help you recover. What should I do? But I have to live somehow, right? All the best. Goodbye.